Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Whiskey Jedi podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Jake Berlin, and yes, I am the Whiskey Jedi. I go by that. I go by Jake. I go by Qui-Gon Jake, as you can see down there below for my social media handles. And this is my show. This is my my weekly Star Wars show that I love hanging out and talking Star Wars. No matter how many people are joining me, and I'm very thankful for all of you that are, whether you're watching live or on the replay. Yes. I am doing this live. I haven't been doing this live the last couple weeks. It's been working out really well. And honestly, it saves a little bit of editing on my side. And so I'm here to do this show live on a Thursday afternoon, my time. And yes, I have been sticking to Thursdays too. It's been the best day so far the last couple weeks, and it's been working out really well for me. And I'm really happy to come weekly and do this on each and every Thursday. So look out for that. I changed the graphic here in the corner. Or this way, excuse me. That doesn't say Wednesday anymore. Now it says Thursday. But we're continuing my Mandalorian rewatch this week. I've done the last 2 weeks, and I was wondering and pondering when exactly we would find out the second season would be coming, because we hadn't got an official release date yet. And I was like, okay, man, it could be dropped in the next month. And I'll have to cram episodes into, 2 a week, which I don't mind. Obviously, that doesn't bother me. But I just thought to myself, oh, man, that'd be tough. But thankfully, news came that the second season will be dropping October 30th. It's funny. They had always said, oh, yeah, the show's going to be coming out a month earlier. It's coming out like 13 days early compared to last season. And so not a big deal. But it allows me enough time to watch every single episode without having to rush it, which is nice. And so today we are covering, as I've been teasing and saying all day on social media, my favorite episode and the best episode of the season last season, excuse me, Chapter 3, The Sin. This is the Deborah Chow episode, her first episode in the season. And if you've watched the show, you know exactly why I'm saying that. If you have not watched the show, what are you doing? Go watch the show. But if you're here to watch it with me, that's awesome. Like, cue it up. Let's get it ready. I have it on Disney Plus right now. It's at 0000. It's one of the longer episodes we have here. And so, I'm excited to get into this episode and to get into this episode specifically with, my all-time favorite whiskey. And I've done this whiskey before on the show. I did it a number of weeks ago. Actually, it's probably around, I want to say maybe even like a month and a half, 2 months ago. Maybe even longer. But I figured my favorite episode of The Mandalorian Season 1, why not pair it with my all-time favorite whiskey? Because it also allows me to sit back and hang out and watch the episode like I did last week. I'll be talking and highlighting a whiskey that I've talked about before. I can send you to that previous episode, and you guys can really get the hard facts about it there. I'll talk about it here a little bit, but for the most part, I'm going to be diving into this episode and really just kind of covering it and talking about it as it goes. I'll take a pause here and there, maybe twice. It's around the 36-minute mark, 35 minutes. So maybe I'll take 2 breaks to sip some water while I'm talking and also talk about the whiskey. But yeah, so if you have it all queued up, I'm currently at the 0000 mark. I got a black screen in front of me for Chapter 3, The Sin. And I'll show the Blanton's bottle real quick too. Very, very cool bottle. You guys can see it there on the left-hand side of the screen, but this is, as you can see, it's getting real low. The sun's getting real low in the word of Black Widow there. And so what's cool about this bottle, though, is not only is it shaped like a grenade, which is very unique, and calls back to the creator of the whiskey. Excuse me. Each topper. Let's see if I can get you to see it. Right there. You can see the T right there. Each topper comes with a different letter, and it spells the word Blanton's. I only have one bottle at the moment because, 1, this was given to me. I'm very thankful for that. But 2, Blanton's is one of the most popular whiskeys / bourbons in the world, and it's extremely expensive. Most bottles run over $200. Some of them run even higher. And so you have to make it last. And unfortunately for me, although I've been making it last the last few years, it is very much coming down to the wire. So I might be, unfortunately, purchasing a new bottle very soon, which I'm happy to do, but it just kind of kills my pocketbook. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into The Mandalorian Episode 3, titled The Sin, Chapter 3, excuse me. Very, very much looking forward to this episode. So with all that, hopefully you have it queued up by now. Let's go and start this bad boy. I'll count down from 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Disney Plus logos going across. And now we get the recap from the last episode. I will say during while this recap's going, I had to choose this glass today specifically because some stormtroopers get their absolute asses handed to them in this episode. So I thought it was, on par. And if you guys are noticing it all, usually I pour the bottle on the episode itself. And for you audio listeners, you may not notice because you're listening. I have a brace on my hand. That's because I fractured my hand. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't stumbling on screen. So I poured it beforehand and set myself up for success. Still getting the recap, by the way. We're seeing the Mud Horde scene and then Baby Yo here using the Force. Still such just a brilliant scene. And now we're getting to the nitty gritty of this goodness. This is where it gets crazy. Beautiful Lucasfilm logo coming across. And then that awesome, right here, this awesome Star Wars intro. All right, let's just get to it. I haven't seen this episode in a very long time, so I'm very excited. He's obviously, it's a straight continuation from the previous episode. He's taking the child back to those who were, had the bounty on him. And then we get this great moment between these two where baby, Tiny, the child, baby, climbs out of his crib and is going for the shiny ball. Grief Karga. He starts chewing on this metal ball. Sad little ears. He just picks them up. Of course, being that we've all seen the season so far, this is the beginning of a new adventure for Mando. Such a great little design too for this outpost on Navarro, I believe it is. Very, very Star Warsy, right? But also kind of, the quote unquote backwater of it all. You see the red-eyed Jawas. The child getting his first experience with all of this stuff. Not really understanding, obviously, what's going on. The music, and you can tell right away that this episode is going to be something different just because of the music, right? It gives off this certain vibe. It's a tell, like we talk about your poker face, right? What's your tell? That's very much a tell in this episode. It's not your typical Mando music. Excuse me. It's very not darker, but just much more intense. And it has this like quiet assassin type vibe to it. There's the stormtroopers that later get their ass kicked. You can already tell Amanda's got a little protective over him. You got the client in Pershing. Werner Herzog as the client is just brilliant. Just a great choice for this character. The way that they lined out the character, there's very few people that can electrify as the role, and he is definitely one of them. Obviously, now we see this bucket of Beskar that he gets, and he has no idea that that's what he's getting. And we get the underlying Mando theme, which is just beautiful. This moment leads into some of my favorite stuff that comes out of the entire season, which is the underground of Mandalorians and that kind of idea down there. And you see this child crying, which, you know, if you have any kind of soul, your heart breaks there. But Mando doesn't realize at that point in time that it breaks his too. Yeah. Yep. Mando already disobeying the rules by asking questions, not taking his prize and just leaving. Title card. Let me get the official name of the episode, I believe. Yes, The Sin. Super excited to get in this episode. I mean, we're only 8 minutes into this episode, and nothing has even come close to what happens towards the end of this episode. And I'll explain later as to why I love this episode so much. The practical effects for all these creatures too. But this is what I was talking about, getting into the underground of the Mandos, right? This tunnel system of all these Mandalorians. The difference between them all. And then you see the Mythosaur, the great creature that the Mandos rode, their ancestors anyway. And we get back to the armor. She better come back in the next episode or next season. I need more armor in my life just because of her education and history and everything. This stuff right here is just brilliant too. Just incredible. I mean, look at the way that this is. And they're fighting over the Beskar clearly, and a lot is revealed here about what happened with the Mandalore past. Those blades, by the way, are incredible. This is the way. The famous line. There you go. The heavy infantry soldier, by the way, the Mando, he's called heavy infantry. Later we knew, or we found out that so there's just it's hard to talk over all of this brilliance from the Mandalorian side of all of this. He just forgoed his signet, which I had said last episode that after my first time watching the second episode, I had said the Mudhorn's going to become his signet. He then forgoes it in this episode, and at that point, I go, "Oh my god! Well, I'm going to be wrong, obviously." And let me pause. Let me actually pause it real quick, and we see I'm pausing it here on a shot of the Beskar. I'm at 12:02 is where I'm at. 12:02 is where I'm at currently. A lot just happened in that sequence of the Beskar and the other Mandalorians coming in and checking out, and as the armor had said, it's going to attract attention essentially, and it very much does. The heavy infantry soldier revealed that, the Empire had taken over and essentially destroyed the Mandalorians' way of life. That they were forced into hiding. As you could see, they're hidden in tunnels. Nobody knows they're there. The client had literally just said, it's easier to find the Beskar steel than it is to actually find a Mandalorian these days. Little do they know they're just hiding underneath, waiting to essentially be out in the open again. And as the heavy infantry says again, only one can go out at a time, and they have to be very secretive about it. The Mandalorian Purge, we still don't know exactly to the T what that is. We know enough that it was essentially the Mandalorians versus the Empire. We don't know where, when, how, the exact details anyway. And season 2 will for sure do that. That's because it's later talked about with Moff Gideon that he was involved in the Great Purge. And getting to know Moff Gideon's backstory will no doubt reveal the Mandalorian Purge as well. And then we get to the actual building of the armor and the signet and all that type of stuff, as well as the foundlings. At the time of watching this episode, we were theorizing and wondering what foundlings were. We now know that they're essentially orphan children. Not just orphan children, but foundlings are orphan children that aren't actually Mandalorians. Mandalorian is, as they say in the show and many other aspects of Star Wars, it's a Kree. It's a Kree or Creed, one or the other. Kree, I think it's Kree. Creed, I don't know, one or the other. I know someone's probably laughing at me, but whatever. It's a way. It's a way of life. It's a way that it's almost like a religion. It's the way you select yourself to be a part of this thing. And that's exactly where that's saying. This is the way. This is the way. That's why the armor is it. That's why, because this is the way Mandalorians, and it's later obviously revealed through flashbacks that, which are coming up, which very much start the kind of build, that the Mandalorian himself is not an actual Mandalorian. He is a foundling. He is from somewhere else, and the Mandalorians found him, and we find out later on that it was actually Death Watch from the Clone Wars. If you watch the Clone Wars, the animated show, it is Death Watch that finds him, which is incredibly interesting because we have some major characters from that could play into flashbacks, that could play into season 2. And so it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, that's for sure. We have a long way to go to finding out that, but that's kind of what's going on here. A lot more answers will be revealed about all of this. It's all connected, but it's all going to be revealed at one point or another. So again, 12:02 is where I'm at. And I'm going to press play here in about 3, 2, and 1. And this is, again, just like the previous episode, as she's banging around making the armor, we get these really cool flashbacks of Mando's history. And he's going to be all shined out and everything, but we're seeing like the way the Beskar melts and everything is just incredible, by the way. And whistling birds, essentially these Mandalorian style mini torpedoes that just kill anything in its path. We see the outline for his armor, which is awesome. And the making of it and the clanking with the flashbacks is just incredible. The interesting is going to be to find out where exactly this planet is. We can see all the droid ships in there, which is shocking. Going back to the Clone Wars, revealing kind of where his age is at. Yeah, the battle droids are just awesome. It's the last time he saw his parents. And it's not revealed until later on in the season that this battle droid did not kill him. The way that this armor is built for these Mandalorians is just incredible. The history and the mythology behind it all is what I get so interested in as a Star Wars fan. And then his debut as he walks in, it's that classic bar scene, right? Where everybody's like, whoa, who is this guy? I will say this. I really, 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 really like his traditional armor, the one that he had in the first 2 episodes. The chrome look is pretty cool for this guy. Not subtle, but really, really cool. Carl Weathers is just a legend. I'm so happy to see him back in season 2. I don't know in what kind of capacity. I know that he and Cara Dune are together, but I'm very interested in see where that story goes because Mando's going off and doing his own thing. Is it going to be a 2 storyline set thing, or are they going to come back together at some point? The Twi'lek healing baths. Again, his true character coming forward, wondering and worrying about the kid, the child. Our first notice of the New Republic. Any kind of mention of them, obviously. at this time anyway, right? They had been created after the events of Return of the Jedi, but this is 5 years or so after that. And so they seem to be still going strong. But clearly, people on the outside in the outer rims, as they are, as Grief Karga mentions, the core, meaning the core worlds, they don't believe necessarily in what's going on with the New Republic. And here it comes. The old switcheroony. The ball is not where it's supposed to be. He remembers. Now he wonders. And the show is never the same again. Here we go. Game on. The music adding a whole nother level to this as well. Again, Ludwig Göransson just murdering this score. Let the games begin. And we knew this going in for those of us who pay attention to it. But Deborah Chow was a very talented filmmaker, but she just took the world by storm. As Mando looks on to the child's crib, she took the world by storm after this episode dropped. Her name was everywhere, and rightfully so. She was given the reins for the Obi-Wan series, and I cannot wait to see what she does with that series. Her creative vision, her doing all of the episodes, it's going to be pretty fun. And of course, our first sign into wondering what exactly they want with the child. Extract, the word used there. And here we go. Just absolutely dusting these stormtroopers. I also really appreciate the camera work. You know, we talk about it all the time. A lot of action movies, they want to give you that really fast pacing effect, and they want to follow what's happening. Where I know for myself, and a very gruesome kill there. I know myself, as well as a lot of others, appreciate when the camera essentially just sits on what we're watching. And there's a lot of that happening right here. There we go. The classic Empire medical droid, Dr. Pershing apologizing here. And you just see Baby Yoda being treated on. Will we see Dr. Pershing again? Be very interesting on how if we do. All with one arm. Meanwhile, he's got the child in one hand. Woo! The classic Mando flamethrower. And I talked about it last episode. The child is exposed to a lot with Mando, right? There's a lot going on as far as killing and action and quote unquote roughhousing. There's another example of him burning someone alive and him recognizing it as he's sitting there in Mando's arms. And here's where we see the whistling birds, I want to say. I always forget the name. So sick. So sick. Now the question is, because we don't see him for the rest of the season, how many of those does he have left, if any? That's a big question. It's a question that I need to answer because those things are badass. And here we go. All the pucks activated. All the fobs, excuse me, the tracking fobs. Who are they after? They're not after the child. They're after Mando. Every single one of the bounty hunters in that bar is now going after Mando, and this is where the goods happen. Grief Karga's like, okay, what did you do, Mando? This final sequence is incredible. Again, the fact that all of this was shot on a soundstage in this type of setting is absolutely incredible. It looks brilliant. Woo! Also, really appreciate that a lot of them are speaking alien tongue. Just great action again. Deborah Chow killing it from that aspect. Doing such a great job. And as I mentioned with the cameras before, she's really letting us seeing everything that's going on. Nothing is moving too quickly. Poor droid getting shot. Music, great job again. I know I keep mentioning it, but as I've mentioned on the show before, I'm a music guy. It plays a huge part in how I watch things. And now we see the disintegration happen. Let's go. And flamethrower arm, awesome. Such a great visual. I mean, it looks incredible. Runs out. And here's where the real, I know I mentioned goodies, but the real goodies start to happen. The Mandos come out of hiding. Not just yet. It hasn't happened just yet, just in case you're wondering where I am. I'm currently at 29 minutes and 12 seconds is where I'm currently standing. You can see it. Here you go. Boom. Yup. Mandalorian music kicks up, and an army of Mandos come out of hiding to protect him. Hell to the yeah. Oh, it gets me so happy and giddy seeing these guys in live action. Are you kidding me? Oh my goodness. There's a shot here very soon of the camera from a bird's eye view. And here we go. The infantry soldier just kicking butt with his gun. Absolutely wrecking shop. This is the way. Love it. Love it. And as we know, because we've seen this before, Grief cargo waiting on a ship. And us thinking, of course, oh my God, he just killed Grief Karga. How's Carl Weathers dead already? But Mando, being smart, knowing who he is, we should have guessed he shot where the Beskar is in Grief Karga's shirt. Here's this bird's eye view of this battle, which is just incredible. Oh, are you kidding me? Look at that. We're actually seeing Mandalorians in live action. And here's Grief Karga. Pulling out the Beskar. Wow. And then this incredible shot, which is super relevant to what's going on right now. Him seeing infantry soldier jetpacking next to him here. This great line. I got to get one of those. Little do we know he does. The child going for the metal ball. And look, things come full circle. He gives him the metal ball. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. What an episode. Just incredible. Directed by Deborah Chow. Yeah, I mean, look, I set it up top, and I could sit here and watch this concept art all day. It's just so incredible the way they do this. I've been using the concept art as my thumbnails, which I think work brilliant. But the episode, I talked about it somewhere in the middle, that the reason why I love the episode so much is because I'm essentially addicted, like just flat out addicted to knowing and understanding what how the Mandalorians live, who they really are, what are their ways outside of what we know from the Clone Wars and Rebels. Um, the animated shows are great and their stories are great, but they can only go so far. I want to understand them in live action. I want to see them in live action. I want them to be expanded in live action. And this is very much the first step of that. We know that the Mandalorian is not your typical Mandalorian, right? He's kind of a loner, a gunslinger. You know, he's got that wild, wild west type to him. And that changes a little bit because he gets some friends along the way. But for the most part, that's how he operates. And like he had said at the end of the episode, they're going to have to relocate because of what happened in this episode. Where do they go? We know that they drop their armor and that the armorer herself is staying behind to essentially melt it down. So do we get to see that? Do we get to see the clan in the second episode? Does it go in a different direction? Are they setting it up for something in the future? I just know that this episode, it really kind of just like, it quenched my thirst enough, but it made me want to see more. Like, I need to see more of the Mandalorians in live action, not just this group. Obviously, I would love to see this group of characters, like the armorer back, the heavy infantry soldier, as they called him, back, voiced by Jon Favreau. I'd love to see him back, but I just want to see the Mandalorians in general in live action because they are such a different breed of people compared to what we know in Star Wars. It's so different from what we know in Star Wars. And the reason why people love the Mandalorian so much is because it's so different from what we know. It's so unique. It's so outside the box, and teasing us with this clan of Mandos who are in hiding, and teasing us with things like the Great Purge and foundlings, and this is the way, and just all of this mythology and history, little by little, it makes me want to know more. I want to know more. And so I hope at some point, whether it's the second season, another show, whatever it is, I just hope that we get more of them down the line outside of just this character, because the characters and the people are so rich in stories and mythology and just history. And I've compared them. I've said this before on many shows, but they are very much like Native Americans in a way where their history and religion runs very deep. It runs very deep. The way they operate in their own society is way different than anything else in Star Wars. It's nothing like the Jedi. It's nothing like the Republic and the politics. It's nothing like any of the alien races. It's the reason why they haven't been touched yet, is because they are so uniquely different. And I know that there's someone out there to tackle them. It may very well be Jon Favreau, who can easily do something in the movie form or another television show. But I have no doubt that there's another filmmaker out there or storyteller who can tackle this. I just know that at some point, it would be very smart of Lucasfilm to tell this story, because they were covered a lot in what's called Legends now, the non-canon stuff. I just want more. I just want more Mandos, and I think I have it back here somewhere. Yeah, I have the Mythosaur here that I won at Mandalorian Trivia last year. It's actually metal. It's pretty heavy, but it's really, really cool. I want more of this. If I can get it straight. There we go. I want more of this in Star Wars. Give me more of this in Star Wars. Please give me more of this in Star Wars. So I would show you any kind of Mandalorian's merch I have, but I don't have it yet. I actually do have some really cool hot toys on the way that are Mandalorian IG-11 that I'm excited to show, but I won't have those for a while. So, but yeah, for now, this was my watch along for episode 3, chapter 3, The Sin. My favorite episode from the season. What I think is the best episode of the series so far. I know there's only 8, but I'm just going to say that. Deborah Chow stepping into the world of Star Wars for the very first time and essentially setting the bar very high. Setting the bar very high to a point where it was very hard to reach. For many, this is the favorite episode. This is the best episode, and I'm very excited to see where season 2 goes and if that can be reached. And there's many more episodes to go. Obviously, we've only done 3. There's 5 left. I have about 2 months until a season 2. And so going forward, now that I know exactly when the Mando season 2 is coming, I can probably space these out a little bit. Maybe do a little separate Star Wars topic on next week's show or the week after or whatever. And I plan on doing that. And like I had mentioned multiple times, I plan on having guests and talking Star Wars, and I'm very excited to have that and do that. But for now, this is the Whiskey Jedi. Thank you so much for joining me on this rewatch of Chapter 3, The Sin of Mandalorian Season 1. And so if you had watched on the playback, I appreciate that. Make sure you guys are leaving comments along while I'm watching. Your thoughts on what I'm watching, what I'm talking about. I want to be able to have an interaction with all of you and hear your thoughts on exactly what is going on and maybe some things that I have to say as well. And so that's exactly why I'm doing this. I want to start conversations and have conversations. And so do not be afraid to leave comments. I'd really appreciate that. The show is also on audio. If listening on the go works a little bit better for you, whether you're in the car or sitting at work, whatever it may be, the show lives on audio. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Google, and a number of other platforms. Just search the Whiskey Jedi podcast, Jake Berlin, and it should pop up. But yeah, so this show, like I mentioned up top, guys, this show is going to live on Thursdays from now on, live here at this time, around the 4:15 hour. It's been working out really well for me the past couple weeks, and I think it's a perfect spot for me. So with that said, that is this week's episode. Cannot thank you all enough for joining me on this week's episode of The Whiskey Jedi. I just watched Chapter 3 of The Mandalorian, titled The Sin, and I'm not 100% sure yet if next week will be Chapter 4, but make sure you guys are following me on Twitter, as that's where I update and stay intact with everything. I'm having fun conversations on everything Star Wars and movies and sports and everything else. So you can follow me at Qui-Gon Jake right down there below. And again, I haven't mentioned it much this episode because there was so much to talk about this episode, but Blanton's Bourbon, it's expensive, but it is worth every sip. I promise you. And it is something that I think that everyone should try. If you're a whiskey fan or a bourbon fan, I cannot recommend it enough. So whether it's just a glass at a bar or buying the bottle. So check that out. Again, thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode of The Whiskey Jedi. I am the Whiskey Jedi, Jake Berlin, and I will see you guys next week.